Hello and welcome, everyone. I am SAG-AFTRA Executive Vice President Ben Whitehair. Thank you all so much for joining another SAG-AFTRA program on YouTube. To stay current with all of our video events, we invite you to subscribe to this channel, which you can even do right now. We are joined today by American Sign Language interpreters Romina Mena and Mara Bassani Santamaria. As a reminder, today's program is being recorded, and you can watch the replay right here on SAG-AFTRA's YouTube channel, along with a bunch of other great content. Today, the PTEOE, President's Task Force on Education, Outreach, and Engagement, brings you a very important presentation, Know Your Rights, Discrimination in the Workplace. Today's program seeks to ensure that members can not only identify instances of discrimination, but also have the knowledge and access to resources to report the issue if and when it arises. Today, we are very happy to have with us SAG-AFTRA National Vice President, New York, and New York Local President, Ezra Knight. Ezra's extensive union committee work includes service on the National Executive Committee, National Diversity Advisory Committee, National Co-Chair and New York Local Chair of the Ethnic Employment Opportunities Committee, TV Theatrical Standing Committee, Voiceover Committee, and many others. He has extensive film and TV credits, including The Tender Bar, Ordinary Joe, Power Book 3, Raising Kanan, Addicted, The Abandoned, and Straight Outta Tompkins. He has appeared in national TV spots and done VO for numerous commercials. Ezra has also appeared on and off Broadway, a man of tremendous talent and remarkable dedication and commitment to SAG-AFTRA. Ezra, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for that awesome introduction, Dan. Two quotes are in my mind today, and one is, "The moral arc of the universe is long, but bends towards justice." Thank you, Martin Luther King Jr. Second is, not subscribed to any particular individual, but certainly it's been said that SAG-AFTRA's greatest strength is in its diversity. And as long as I sit in all those seats and do this work that I do on behalf of union members, that will be a quote that stands throughout my time here and hopefully beyond. So with that said, today's topic speaks to both those quotes. And I'm happy to be here and be part of that and supporting the mission of SAG-AFTRA, its diversity and its work in those spaces.
Here to walk us through the basics is SAG-AFTRA Executive Director, Equity and Inclusion, Franklin Sablon. Franklin is a certified HR and equity and inclusion professional with a long and distinguished career. He has spent over 20 years helping employees at some of the most prestigious organizations and companies achieve their career goals by ensuring a safe working environment free of discrimination. Incredibly important work. We're so happy to have you. Franklin, over to you.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that introduction, Ben. And hello, Ezra. It's great seeing you. I believe that today's topic is very important for our union. So with further ado, let me share my screen here and begin the presentation. Okay, so welcome. Know Your Rights, Discrimination in the Workplace. SAG-AFTRA's Equity and Inclusion Department is committed to ensuring an inclusive, safe working environment for all members and advancing equity in the workplace. In collaboration with staff, committees, and the National Board, the department addresses systems that cultivate bias and inequities to ensure that every member is treated with dignity and respect, and that all members have an equal opportunity to secure fairly compensated work. The policy and compliance staff assist members with matters involving discrimination and sexual harassment and are committed to ensuring safe and equitable workplaces for our members. The policy and compliance staff also assist members with the development and implementation of proactive diversity, equity, inclusion, and hyper-exposed work contract initiatives which support the SAG-AFTRA mission. For example, nudity and sex scene writers, notice rules, intimacy coordinator initiative, qualified hair and makeup professionals rules, casting and auditions rules. Now let's talk about employer responsibilities as it relates to discrimination in the workplace. Employers have an obligation to adhere to federal laws, state laws, rules, regulations, and policies which prohibit discrimination and harassment in the workplace on the basis of race, color, religion, national origin, disability, age, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, protected veteran status, and genetic information, also known as protected categories. As I go through my slide presentation, you are going to notice that protected categories comes up frequently. The policy and compliance team assists members in understanding and pursuing these rights for our members. Employment discrimination generally exists where an employer treats an applicant or employee less favorable merely because of a person's race, color, religion, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, national origin, disability, or status as a protected veteran. Employment discrimination can be against a single person or a group of individuals. Members have the right to work in an environment free of discrimination. You cannot be denied employment, harassed, demoted, terminated, paid less, or treated less favorably because of your membership in a legal protected category. Now, here are examples of discrimination in the workplace. Not getting hired based upon membership in a protected category. If you are a member of an individual with a disability and you're not being hired because of your disability or your race or national origin, it's against the law. Enduring repeated inappropriate comments. Now, be very mindful in the workplaces, inappropriate comments that are pertain to an individual's protected categories, whether they're talking about your race or making inappropriate comments or jokes in a work environment against someone's protected status. To constitute the hostile work environment, the conduct must be severe and pervasive, so be very mindful of that. If it's repeated in action, it's inappropriate and it's related to a person's protected category, that constitutes to discrimination in the workplace. Getting fired because of your status as a member of a protected category. As I've mentioned, the protected categories earlier, getting fired because you're affiliated with that. Denying an employee certain compensation or benefits. All employees should be treated equally as it relates to a compensation. If you are hired to perform a certain function or a role, you should be compensated accordingly to that function or benefits. We cannot segregate certain type of employees based on your protected category and only offer some other employees benefits and not other employees. There has to be consistency as it relates to benefits administration across the board. Denying a candidate based solely on a membership of a protected category, not offering employment to individuals because of their protected status, whether your sexual orientation, your race, your ethnic background. Employers cannot make those type of decisions or discriminate on anyone's protected category. So these are some examples of discrimination in the workplace to be very mindful of. Now, federal non-discrimination and anti-harassment laws include the Title VII of the Civil Rights Act, the Age Discrimination and Employment Act, the Equal Pay Act, Title II of the Genetic Information Non-Discrimination Act, Sections 503 and 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, and the Americans with Disabilities Act. Additionally, there are state laws that closely mirror federal civil rights and EEO laws. So my recommendation is to our member is to familiarize yourselves with all of these different laws that protect you in the work environment as it relates to non-discrimination and anti-harassment laws in the workplace. So now we're going to get into contract protections as it relates to the contract with SAG-AFTRA. Our SAG-AFTRA contracts also prohibit unlawful discrimination. And they generally state producer is committed to maintaining a working environment that is free from unlawful harassment. Producer is committed to complying with applicable laws prohibiting harassment in the workplace. Employees who believe there has been a violation should immediately inform the producer or its designated representative. If member requests union assistance, union representative will assist member in making complaint known to producer. Producer must investigate promptly Upon conclusion of the producer's investigation, the producer will take action it deems appropriate and warranted. For more information, you can access the contract on sagaftra.org on the Contracts and Industry Resources tab. Now, our SAG-AFTRA contracts contain additional protections beyond those recognized under discrimination laws. And here are examples of those. Qualified hair and makeup professionals. The 2022 SAG-AFTRA commercials contract require producers to use only qualified hair and makeup artists with proven ability in styling diverse hair, complexion, and features. Every effort will be made to use diverse casts and corresponding stunt performer doubles. Now we're going to go into discrimination reporting. Now, if you believe you've been subject to unlawful discrimination at work, first report the situation to your employer, production in writing if possible. Or if you need assistance with process, please contact the union, the Equity and Inclusion Department. We are here to help and protect you. What happens if you're not satisfied with the employer's response? If the employer fails to respond to you, our member, the union can provide assistance. Be mindful, though, that the union is limited in assistance it may provide. We help you file your complaint and act as a resource for understanding company policies and procedures. We do not provide legal advice, and we cannot control the outcomes of the investigations. And also be very mindful that every report that comes through our department in equity and inclusion is very confidential. We treat it with utmost confidentiality. If you believe you've been subject to unlawful discrimination or harassment, you can file a report with SAG-AFTRA by contacting the Equity and Inclusion Department, like I've mentioned earlier. Members reporting discrimination or harassment, you can email diversity@sagaftra.org or call 855-SAG-AFTRA. That's 855-724-2387 and press 1. After hours onset emergencies, you can call 844-SAFER-SET. That's 844-724-2387 and press 1. Discrimination and harassment. To view information about discrimination or file a report, you can always visit www.sagaftra.org. And under Membership Benefits tab, then Equity and Inclusion, there is a lot of information as it relates to discrimination and what your options are as a member of the organization. Confidentiality. Report discrimination by confidentially report discrimination by completing the member discrimination or harassment complaint questionnaire online and emailing to diversity@sagaftra.org. Confidentially report discrimination by completing the member discrimination or harassment complaint questionnaire online and emailing to diversity@sagaftra.org. If a member wants to file a report of discrimination, the following is the process for filing formal report with SAG-AFTRA. Equity and Inclusion will contact you after we receive your complaint. The member always has the absolute right under the contract to file a complaint with production themselves. The union can't interfere with that right. Now I would like to cover the demographic survey. We encourage our members to fill out the member demographic survey. Understanding the demographics of our membership is critical for negotiations and providing programming and services that are meaningful, relevant, and accurately reflect the makeup of SAG-AFTRA's membership. Completing the survey is simple, easy, and confidential. And before ending my slide deck presentation, I'd like to remind our members of top three things to keep in mind. If you see something wrong, tell your union. Use discretion, and if you can say something on the spot, do so, or report it as soon as possible to the union. You can always report things anonymously. 2, it's not what you are, it's what you can play. Whether on a breakdown, in an audition, or on the job, the criteria should always be what your professional qualifications are, and not what your personal identification might be. And lastly, 3, always keep records, names, dates, locations, including your earnings, pay stubs, and vouchers, everything. Now I'm going to turn this over to Ben or Ezra as it relates to questions that are coming through from our members. Thank you.
Franklin, thank you so much. So supportive to have this context and a sense of what we can do. First question from members relates to that. What is the first thing I should do if I've been sexually harassed or discriminated against?
The first thing you should do from an equity and inclusion perspective is definitely, you have that right, as I mentioned earlier, to file that with the studio directly, with the employer directly, and wait for an outcome. Now, if there is a level of support that is needed from the union, we're definitely here to support that, to reach out to equity and inclusion. You can email diversity@sagaftra.org or go to our website and see what options you have as a member in filing your complaint of discrimination in the workplace. So what we would typically do if we step in from a union perspective is we would reach out to the studio, of course, meet with the member, get their situation down with compassion and empathy and understanding, listen to their situation, have it documented, and forward that complaint over to the studio for them to review and investigate it. Once the studio or the employer investigates the complaint, of course, they're going to meet with individuals, question or any witnesses that may be involved with regards to the situation, find the solution and find what the outcome of that investigation is going to be, whether it's going to be substantiated or non-substantiated. Then they would reach out to the union, provide the results of their investigation. Sometimes they would reach out to the member directly and provide that to the member. But in most cases, they would reach out to us. We would speak with that studio, the employer, and definitely communicate those results to the member. And stuff. But we do encourage members, if they're comfortable, to file the complaint directly with their employer. But if they're not comfortable, the union is always here to support that member through that process, as it can be a very sensitive situation the member can be going through.
Thank you, Franklin. We have a second question here, which is, will SAG-AFTRA be my lawyer?
That is a great question, and we get that frequently in the department. We do not offer any legal services to our employers, but we act as an advocate, not to our employers, to our members, I'm sorry. But we definitely act as an advocate to our members as they go through this process. SAG-AFTRA does not provide any legal services to members, but we are experts in this industry in the Department of Equity and Inclusion, and therefore we provide definitely a lot of resources and options the members can take as it relates to their challenges.
Got it. Got it. Franklin, next question. What can I expect after my complaint is filed with my employer? You walked through some of that, but what can I expect after that's been filed?
Definitely, there are going to be outcomes. We can't control the outcomes of any workplace investigation, as you know that. We do advocate, but if the issue is substantiated, if the complaint is substantiated, then the employer has to take remedial action against the individual that they're filing a complaint about, and that's their obligation to do. If they are not satisfied with the outcome of an investigation to their liking, to the member's liking, then we would provide the member with options that they can take. We always encourage our members to take personal legal action or consult with a personal legal attorney to see what other options that they have as members and stuff. But like I mentioned earlier, we don't act as we don't provide legal services to our members, but we provide them with resources, whether it's counseling services that maybe a state that the member resides in can take advantage of, but we have a list of services that we provide our members as they go through this process.
Yeah. In line with that, Franklin, has another question. Will E&I, Equity Inclusion, staff talk to me about the discrimination I experienced and advise me about the options available to address the matter?
Oh, most definitely. Like I've mentioned throughout the presentation and also by responding to these questions, our staff is readily available. We are here to advocate for our members, to provide resources for our members, to provide options that our members may have to get them through this process. As I've mentioned, this is a very sensitive, going through issues like this, it's very sensitive. And there's a lot of things that are involved, whether it's emotional trauma that an individual may go through, So we do have a list of services that we can provide our members as they go through this challenge, and be there for the individual to continue to provide them that support through the process. So we are very committed to the work that we do as a union, as a department, and we are definitely there for our members.
Wonderful. Franklin, Ezra, thank you so much for being here. That wraps up our discussion for today, but hopefully all of you watching will go to sagaftra.org and take a look at the extensive library of information and resources available there as it relates to discrimination. And remember, you don't have to endure this type of behavior. SAG-AFTRA is very much here to offer support and assistance. Again, Franklin, thank you so much for being here today. Special thanks to Ezra for co-hosting this program with me. As a reminder to everyone watching, this presentation is available as a replay on our YouTube channel, and you can watch it anytime. On behalf of the entire team here at SAG-AFTRA, we would like to thank you for watching, and a special thanks to our regular viewers who've been tuning in each week for our PTEOE President's Task Force on Education, Outreach, and Engagement live streams. As always, if you have ideas for topics you would like to see us cover, please email us, pteoe@sagaftra.org. And before we go, if you haven't already, please subscribe to SAG-AFTRA's YouTube channel to get updates on all of the content we are posting. Thank you and have a great day.